Mazda in general is an automaker that puts emphasis on driving dynamics. From the legendary MX-5 Miata to the RX-8, even basic family cars like the Mazda 5 and CX-9, they make vehicles that are fun to drive and have a rewarding driving experience. What initially set the Mazda 3 apart from its main competition, the Civic and the Corolla, is the fact that it was sold with two configurations, a sedan or hatchback, and available with two different engine choices. The basic engine for basic transportation and the larger four-cylinder engine for more spirited driving. And it's been rewarded with great sales. The Mazda 3 is one of the top 3 selling cars in the country. But what about people who want even more performance? This is the Mazda to get, the Mazdaspeed3. Tuned and modified by the Mazdaspeed division to make an already great car even better. It's instantly recognizable due to the large and functional air scoop on the hood, unique front bumpers and fenders that make the smiley grille easier to take. Additional upgrades include standard xenon headlamps, fog lamps, a lower stance, side skirts, raised rear spoiler, LED taillights, and dual exhaust tips. Push-button start with keyless entry, information display with navigation system, sat radio, 6-disc changer and Bose stereo all come standard. You know, that's all great stuff, but there are a couple of omissions I should tell you about. First of all, the seats. Sure, they're nicely bolstered, gives you extra lateral support when you're cornering, but they're only offered in cloth. Now, at almost $33,000, there'll be some shoppers that say, wait a second, it really should come standard with leather seats, but you can't even get them. Now, I personally like cloth because they're cooler in the summer, warmer in the winter, and it does prevent you from sliding around even more when you're cornering. The second thing this car doesn't have is a sunroof, not even optional, because the Mazdaspeed department wanted the most structurally sound car they could get for the best driving dynamics, so the sunroof had to go. This is kind of surprising in the world of ever-increasing horsepower claims, but Mazda decided to leave the output of the 2.3-liter turbocharged four-cylinder unchanged. Not to say they didn't improve the car, they just thought it had enough power, which is kind of bold in this world where there's all kinds of little pocket rockets out there, from the Subaru WRX to the Lancer Evo from Mitsubishi. Mazda rates the turbocharged engine at 263 horsepower, and all that power goes to the front wheels through a 6-speed manual transmission. To even out the torque curve of the turbo, they've added an intercooler on the hood. This, along with direct injection, makes the engine very responsive and has more usable power over a wider range, making the engine feel more potent. This is probably because torque is up by 10% over the older model. You know what? I wish more car companies took this approach of taking an existing model that's very popular and tweaking it and modifying it and not changing it wholeheartedly. It would have been very easy for Mazda to just drop a bigger engine in the Mazdaspeed3 and jump into the horsepower race. They didn't do that. They looked back at the old Mazdaspeed3, they saw the weaknesses, and they worked on those. Here's the thing that would make this car better: all-wheel drive. It's going to get to the point where Mazda will have to put all-wheel drive into this car if they want it to compete with other vehicles in this class. That might be worth the wait.
There's more. Go to drivingtelevision.com for Zach's feature on his life as a courier and the specially priced Olympic Equinox.
Here at Driving Television, we get a lot of questions from people asking us whether they should use premium or regular fuel in their vehicles. Now, most of you think that premium means better, but this isn't necessarily always true. As most of you are aware, premium gas has a higher octane level than regular fuel. Until about 15 years ago, if you put a low-octane gas in your car that required a higher one, the result would be that the car would begin to knock, ping, and maybe even vibrate. But new cars are so computerized under the hood that sensors take readings and tune the engine as you drive by adjusting the timing of whatever fuel you put into the tank. So you would think that putting premium fuel into a vehicle that only requires regular would actually get you better fuel mileage, right? I could find no conclusive evidence of this, but what I did confirm is that engines are designed to work with a specific level of octane. A high-performance engine is designed to receive gas that burns slower. This in return gives you more power and energy. So remember, to get the best performance and the best fuel economy from your vehicle, use what the manufacturer recommends.
That's a great segment, Lacey, on fuel, because a lot of people are confused when they go to fill up. And we kind of have a fuel thing going in this show. We talked about the new Chevy Equinox we have here, and the main focus from the engineers was to make it one of the most fuel-efficient vehicles in its class. Now, another class of vehicle, we get a lot of email on this, minivans. A lot of Canadians would love to have a minivan with an efficient four-cylinder engine, but they're all sold with V6s. The last four-cylinder minivan was the original Honda Odyssey, which is much smaller than the one sold today.
Well, Zach, one of the most popular minivans with a four-cylinder engine was from Volkswagen. So here is a classic car piece featuring one of the most collectible Volkswagen vans of all time.
The Volkswagen microbus will forever be associated with hippies, flower power, Haight-Ashbury, and of course, Woodstock. It definitely was the preferred vehicle of the counterculture, be it long-haired hippies or surfers. But the origins of this vehicle precede that era by more than a decade. The very first generation Volkswagen vans were produced from 1950 all the way to 1967. And this is a beautifully restored 1966 Deluxe microbus. And we're being generous because by today's modern standards, this is anything but deluxe. What's unique about this van, it's a 21-window microbus. And the most distinguishing features about the multi-window vans were the windows across the top. There's 4 on each side on this van and a huge sunroof. An even more deluxe version had 23 windows. There were 2 extra curved windows at the rear. The cargo area has a high floor because the engine is underneath, the same air-cooled engine used in the Volkswagen Beetle. The Volkswagen bus is a little tricky to get into, but once inside you have a commanding view because we're sitting very close to the front windows. In fact, I'm sitting right over the front wheels. You probably heard that expression, Volkswagen bus, because the steering wheel is just like a bus. It's almost horizontal here. The pedals come out of the floor. The one thing is, once you get used to the driving position, you can almost lean on the steering wheel. Owning a vehicle like this is not about getting there quickly. It's just about getting there in style. The next generation Volkswagen van came out in 1968. It was updated in 1980, and Volkswagen finally introduced a front-engine Eurovan in 1992. But it is the first Volkswagen van with the deep V-nose, the two-tone paint, and the skylights that has become the most collectible. Who would have thought that a very basic, stripped-down utility van would be such a collector's item?